What's the vibe today, Vanessa?
Well, the vibe today is unhinged advice. I like the little scoot you just did. Welcome to the Vibe Check with Kaylee and Vanessa. Let's talk about mental health, no judgment, just good vibes.
Welcome back to the Vibe Check. I'm Kaylee,
Vanessa?
and today we're going to talk about unhinged advice.
Yes.
So we've kind of gathered a list. Actually,
The
we'll
most
get into
popular
that. Yeah.
ones, I guess.
Most popular, like, not necessarily all unhinged, but just
True.
like weird advice and advice that's considered
Yeah.
good, but we're just going to break it
Yeah.
down. Before we get into that, I just wanted to do some little
Housekeeping.
So as I mentioned in the last episode, we are going to have a little forum for everybody to give their
Yes.
suggestions, give feedback,
Mhm.
advice, literally anything. It's just kind of like an open forum for you to just
Yeah.
anonymously contact us, basically. So that is in the bio. It's actually also in the bio of our first episode because I got it figured out on time. But
And it can be not anonymous too. Like if you want to share, you
Yes.
can, but like we're not making anybody have to share.
Exactly. And if, just while we're talking about housekeeping things, if you like accidentally give any identifying
Yes.
information but you prefer to be anonymous, we're just going to keep it anonymous regardless, unless you specifically mention that you want to be shouted out. Another housekeeping thing is we've decided that for now we're going to do bi-weekly episodes.
Yeah.
To
To get things rolling and to keep us accountable for
100%.
recording and posting and things like that.
And we just want to say for now, this
Yeah.
may change eventually, but for now,
Yeah.
while we have
Who
time
knows?
and we have topics and we're excited about it, we'll
Yes.
do bi-weekly.
Yeah.
And kind of readjust as we go.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, into the topic. Do you want to start us off, Vanessa?
Sure. Okay. So the first one on my list is money can't buy happiness.
Ooh.
How do you feel about
right,
that?
we're rating it.
Yes.
I need this. So I want to say money can't buy happiness. I want to say it's, oh god, I can't move. Oh gosh.
Oh,
we're
the arrow stuck on the.
I want to say meh.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I'm going to put this on. I feel like it's not the money that buys happiness. I think sometimes the side effects of money.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that you need money to be happy. I think
True.
not money. I think happiness comes from within.
Yeah.
And if you're unhappy, no amount of money is going to fix that. Like, it might fix
True.
it temporarily with those,
Yeah.
like, dopamine moments, but it's not something that is going to last long term.
Yeah. Because I think I've seen this, like, around, like, social media, too, where people are like, oh, well, like, money can buy me a house, or money can buy me clothes, or money can buy me all these things. But then it's like, yeah, it's temporary happiness. So it's like, yes, there's different levels of happiness too. Like there's different kinds and how long it lasts. So it's true in the sense where it's like, that's why it's like meh, because it is partially true. And it's like, yeah, it can buy temporary happiness.
But I think there's also a distinction that needs to be made between happiness and just like basic, like
euphoria
and just like living.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like it might be like a controversial topic to discuss. Like, someone experiencing homelessness, yes, money may buy happiness in the terms of giving you those basic needs. Mm-hmm. However, I don't think that's the same as happiness. I think that's just basic needs.
Yeah.
And I think to actually be happy is completely different from just having your needs fulfilled.
Yes. I think it's two different cases of happiness. Yeah. Fair. Debunked. Okay, moving on.
I'll go to the next one.
You want to do the? We'll go back and forth. Okay.
Yeah. Good things come to those who wait. I'm going to give you the skills.
Ooh, I get to have the power of the chaos scale.
So good things come to those who wait.
I feel like that's still meh. Getting there, meh.
For me, I think it'd be somewhere in the middle there.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, because I think there's like a message in that, right? Where it's like sometimes patience is good and like practicing patience and will lead to some good things, but then it's also not being like, if you just wait around forever and don't actually take action, it doesn't mean that good things will still come to you just because you're
I think
waiting.
This advice, although it can be taken in a good way, I think it disregards the action that we have in our own lives.
Yeah, and the choice we
And
have.
the choice we have, and just like the responsibility we have to make things happen for ourselves.
Yeah, like if I never applied for university or college, right? Or if I never took the step to learn more, or like I like crocheting, right? So if I never learned how to crochet, I would never.
Yeah, you're not just gonna wait and learn it.
Yeah,
Like you have to actually execute. Like I think this is a good advice when you're thinking of like not settling for things in your life.
Yes.
However, I don't think it's good advice if you're kind of thinking about it in the way of like these amazing things will happen to you if you don't do anything to get there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like that didn't really make any sense.
It makes sense.
I just think there needs to be emphasis on like you need to also play an active participant in your own life.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. And then patience is good too though. And that's why it's like not absolutely terrible, because it's like, like sometimes maybe you're doing so much where it's like, okay, maybe you have to now take a step back because you've done everything you can and now it's time to wait.
Yeah, I feel like it's like good things come to those who wait and to those who execute.
Yeah. We changed it.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
That's the point.
Gorgeous.
This entire episode.
Well, I'm just making a point.
Sorry. Okay, next one.
Okay. Hold on. Everything's dropping and falling apart. Thank you. Okay. Time heals everything, or people have said it as like time heals all wounds.
I feel like I want to say meh.
I know.
And for me, I feel like this is very similar to the last one, that this takes responsibility away from the individual. I think yes, time heals and time can make things better, but I don't think it's time that's the factor. I think it's what you do in that time. I think we do have a responsibility to heal, like,
and healing takes time.
Yes.
True.
And I don't want that to sound like I'm saying like we are responsible for fixing what other people break, but I do think we are fully responsible for how we heal from certain things.
Yeah, and I think I would change the all and the everything, because that's not fair to say that.
It's very black and white.
Yeah, there's definitely a gray area where it's like there is some things like grief where you can still be sad and have that grief 10 years later because something comes up to remind you of that. So it's not that it heals everything, because some things can pull from that grief and bring something up again that you thought you healed from. Right. But it doesn't mean you didn't heal from it or that you did heal from it. It's just the fact that it could take, time is relative.
Yes. And I just think there needs to be a lot of emphasis on how you use the time.
Yeah.
I think I just am a broken record saying that, but like you can't just sit this sounds really bad. You can't just sit and like expect that things will get better because time has passed. You need to do the work during that time. And like I'm not saying you have to be like going to intensive therapy.
Get into
and
therapy.
Like I don't think it needs to be like this dramatic thing, but I do think there is things that need to happen and you shouldn't expect time to heal your wounds.
Yeah. And if somebody says that to you too in the setting of someone's, it's like almost invalidating the fact that maybe you do need a little bit more time to heal, right? You don't have to be that quick to heal, or it's not being like, okay, like don't worry about it, time will heal it.
And I feel like it creates this sense of like anxiety, like, oh, it's been 6 months since this has happened and nothing feels better, but you also haven't been able like to work through things. And I feel like it just like creates this false sense of like something's wrong, or just like this false sense that you are going to get better just because time has passed, which is not the case.
Not the case. Debunked. Moving on.
Okay, next one. They're mean to you because they like you.
I heard this so much growing up. Like, and then I fully believed it as a little child running around being like, oh my goodness, I have so many crushes. Meanwhile, everybody's just mean to me.
Yeah, like I think I don't want to disregard the fact that sometimes people like will make jokes at your expense because they like you, but I don't think that should be a thing.
Yeah.
Like, and also I say this, but like that
thing, but
like my terms of endearment are if I make fun of you and you laugh with me. Like that's my jokes, which I guess probably not a good thing.
But also like I feel like
sorry, go ahead.
No, I cut you off too. But like I feel like you need like a relationship.
Yes.
To begin with before you start being mean jokes or like funny sarcastic things.
Yeah.
Whereas like this phrase is normally used in the fact that like you don't know this boy or like girl or whatever, and that they come in and they're like, I don't know, they do something mean, and then you are sad about it, and it's like somebody telling you that it's okay,
right?
Like in that sense of being used.
Yeah, I think it's like teaches us from a very young age, and it doesn't need to be like a romantic type situation.
That's true.
Like, it could be friends too. I think it teaches us as kids that like if someone's mean to you, it's because they like you, and
then you grow up like that.
Yes, and then I think it creates this like weird sense of like accepting
bad behavior
from other people in our life because they like you.
Yeah.
Like, why can't we just be nice to each other when we like each other?
Right? If I like you, I should be like, oh, I like you.
Yeah.
Right? Or like be like, oh, can I like open the door for you? Or like, I don't know, hold your hand.
Yeah. I don't even know if this is technically advice. I just think it's like
it's something
a saying that people say that I just don't think
it takes the blame off of the person who is mean.
Yes.
And that's not fair.
Yeah.
To the person who's being mean to, has
received
the mean.
Receiving the mean.
Sense. Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, I just don't like that one, and I don't think we can turn it nice. So no, I don't know if we should try. Let's just stop saying it to children.
Time
and to each other.
Yeah. Time to change. Time to change it up. Okay. Where are we at?
Just remember someone else has it worse than you.
So invalidating. Get into that. Yeah. Absolute
disaster.
If I came to you and I was like, I'm, struggling or going through something difficult, and you told me that, I would be like, okay, sorry I even brought it up.
Right. Like, I don't disagree that, yes, there will always be someone that has it worse. There's also always going to be someone who has it better. And my favorite way to think about, like, the flaw in this advice is you coming to me and saying, oh my gosh, I'm so happy because XYZ happened, and me saying, you should tone it down. I think someone else has it better.
Right?
So someone, like, you can't be happy because someone has it better.
Yeah. And I always see it too as like everybody's experience of the worst is different. It's like pain tolerance, right? Everybody has a different level of pain tolerance. It's the same thing goes for this. Everybody has a different level of
emotional tolerance.
Yeah. And so it's like my worst may not be your worst, sure, but it's for me, that's my experience, and I'm having a really difficult time going through it. So I don't care who has it worse in that time.
Exactly. And it just like shuts down
the conversation completely. Like, where do you go from that?
You're like, okay, I'll stop being sad.
That's literally what it's telling you to do. It's telling you to stop complaining about what you're going through.
I also don't think that it's like black or white. Like, I don't think feeling bad is an exclusive situation. True. Like, I can feel bad and you can feel bad for something worse, and I don't think those things have to happen separate. Like, I don't think one has to happen and not the other.
Yeah.
I'm not really articulating well what I'm trying to say, but like they can happen together. Two people can be upset for two different reasons.
Yeah.
And one is not less valuable or valid than the other.
No, it's true, because exactly, like, people, we're allowed to feel. It's pretty much what it is.
Everyone is entitled to their own feelings and emotions.
Yeah. And don't tell me it's not
allowed to process those.
Yes. Debunked.
Next.
Moving on. Where are we at? Okay. Don't worry. You'll figure it out as you go.
Okay. For me, this is mildly helpful. But I feel like you have a different viewpoint on this. And I feel like we've talked about this before, and we interpreted the question differently.
Yeah.
Or the advice differently.
Yeah.
So where would you put it? And then we'll talk.
I feel like it's like meh getting there.
Okay. So you're here.
Because I'm not like mad about it.
Okay.
I think sometimes it's like the first part's like, oh, don't worry. Like, yeah, maybe that's good. Like, yeah, we shouldn't worry too much. But then sometimes it's like, you should worry. But then it's also like, you'll figure it out as you go. I'm a planner. So I feel like sometimes that can be not helpful to someone who wants to plan things out. And like, yes, it's good to recognize that things will work out the way they need to work out, but it doesn't mean you can't have a plan in place first.
Right.
And that's kind of not saying that or it's almost just like if someone's like coming to you being like, oh, like I don't know how to do this, or I need to do this, or like, these things are not falling into
Mhm.
place, and they say this to me, I feel like it would cause me more stress because that's more unknown to
Mhm.
me. But it's also, I know where you're going
Yeah, I'm
with it.
remembering that this is where
Yeah.
we've talked about and where we've differed on this, because I don't take it as like a planning aspect. I think about it as like, just don't stress too much about what you don't already have planned.
Yeah.
There's this quote that I may or may not have tattooed on my body, but that it's mine's in Dutch, but it basically means in the concert of life, no one receives a program, and basically all it's saying is that nobody nobody actually knows what is going on with their life. Like, there's no way for you to know
Yeah.
what the future
Yeah.
holds. And that's what I feel like this advice means, is like, don't worry about what's going to happen a week from now. You will figure it out.
Yeah. Like day by day kind of thing.
But I get where you're coming from too. You're thinking about it in terms of like making sure you have a plan in place,
Yeah.
and this is invalidating the need for those
Yeah.
plans, which I think is also a valid way to think about it. But
No, I do agree with you too, in the sense of like yeah, it's okay to not have everything figured out right now.
Yeah.
I think that's good, really helpful, I think, depending on what stage of life you're in too.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm even thinking like in high school, that's okay. Like, you'll figure it out as you go.
Mhm.
True. And then like for some people too, they freak out about, what they're going to take in university or college
Mhm.
because they haven't figured that out yet.
Yep.
And validating that it's okay that
Yep.
you don't know, because some people do know, some people don't know,
Mhm.
and that's okay.
Yeah. And I think it's also really important to remember that no matter how much planning you do,
it might not
it
work
might
out
not
that
work
way.
out that
Yeah.
way. And I think that's kind of where my mind is with like how useful this advice
Yeah.
is. That like, you can plan, but you still
Yeah.
might have to figure it out.
Yeah, and that is something I even struggle with a bit too. Like the fact that
Yeah.
I don't like when plans don't go my way.
Yes. I also don't like not knowing what's happening next
Yes.
week or 5 years from now.
Okay,
But like,
I'm gonna put it
at the end of the day,
I'm moving more into getting there.
okay.
Just
I've convinced you.
You've convinced me. We're moving on because I want to move on.
Okay.
Okay.
You can't have too much of a good thing. I don't know. I think it's I don't know. I want to say that you can have too much of a good thing. I think if we're talking about like happiness and joy and all that stuff, I think you need, I don't know if it's a bad thing to have too much of it, but I think you need the downs to
Yes.
experience the goods.
Okay, I'm back on track.
We're thinking like a therapist again.
We're only human.
You're right.
Now I lost my.
Okay, I'll keep going. This actually just makes me think of what I'm learning this week in school.
Educate us, please.
Just about existential theories.
Ooh.
I won't go too in depth because I feel like it's just like too much
for
a Thursday morning. But basically the idea, like their view of anxiety, for example, is that like when they're treating anxiety, they don't want to get rid of it because there's a certain level of anxiety that's required for us to live our lives. So like the process is to manage, like get it to a manageable level. So I don't think that you can have too much. Like, I think, what am I trying to say? I'm like going back on myself.
No, okay, if you're always happy all the time, you'll never actually know what true happiness feels like because you've never experienced the lows and the bads. And so it's also validating that it's okay to be sad or angry or mad and not happy all the time.
I think it's also just like normal. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what you said. It is normal, but I also think it's just I can't think of the word I'm trying to say. It's essential for you to be able to experience
everything,
like everything in your life.
Yeah. I agree.
I feel like this question is just kind of breaking my brain a little bit.
I think the banana.
I think we need to move on.
Moving on. We didn't even do the scale because I think.
Yeah, no. Okay, moving on. If you don't ask, the answer is always no.
I don't know. Like, I
That's
feel
a
like.
long pause.
I know. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. It's kind of setting yourself up to, like, in the sense of, if you do ask, you'll get the right, like you'll get yes. It's like that's.
It
not what you
assumes
want to
that
say.
the answer will be yes if you ask. But I think the better version of this advice is
If
wait,
you
hold
don't
on.
ask, the answer is always
Sorry, I had a brain fart.
no.
The better version of this
Yeah.
advice that I prefer is I keep losing it every time I go to say it. The
You
worst they
don't.
can say is no.
Yes, that I agree with.
So I think that sets you up more for the expectation that they could say no, but they could also say yes.
Yeah,
And
and
the worst that could
also,
happen is they say no.
and if they say no, then you move on, kind of
Mhm.
thing, right? Or like,
Whereas if you say you don't ask, the answer is always no, it's just like it could be empowering
it could
because
be.
yes, it has truth in it that if you don't ask the question,
Yeah, you'll never know
you'll
the
never know
answer.
the answer
Yeah,
and it will be no because
yeah,
it won't happen.
because you didn't
But
do anything.
I think it could set you up for some unrealistic expectations.
True. Which why I think on the chaos scale.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I know it's okay. It'd be like getting there.
Yeah. Like.
Yeah, because it's like it's not terrible, but I feel like sometimes it could depend on the person to hear that and being like, I don't know, just not ready to hear that.
Right. Exactly.
So if you don't like your job, just quit. Or it could be like if you don't like something, just quit. It doesn't have to be a job. But
oh, I can't reach.
the chaos scale we could leave up here.
We should. Okay, so I feel like this is like meh, close to absolute disaster.
Yeah, because I don't want to like take away from the fact that you might need to leave a situation if it's not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also not validating the fact that you have to try and like work through things to get better at it. So it's like if you just quit, you'll never know.
Yeah. And I think similar to our discussion about the money can't buy happiness and and time heals everything.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of work that you need to do when you're unhappy with something.
Yeah.
That quitting doesn't solve everything. Like I think like if you are in a bad place at your job or at your whatever you are quitting, whatever it is, the short term it might make things better. It might alleviate that anxiety and stress that you're feeling. But I do think that if there are certain like thought processes or dynamics or anything like that that are kind of the root cause of why you're unhappy or anxious or stressed, those things will resurface once you get a new job, a new project, a new hobby. Like those things will still be there. So I think yes, I do think if you truly don't like something, I think if you truly don't like something, you should quit. But I think you also need to make sure that you're doing that background work. To make sure that you're setting yourself up for success for the future.
It's also like if you don't like somebody in the group or something like that, because you're always going to run into somebody who you don't vibe with or connect with on that level, and you're just not, or you think they're mean, but they think you're mean. You never know, right? But leaving a job because of a person or because of a like thing, you're always gonna have another person who is probably like that.
Yeah,
like there's always one person who you might never get along with.
Right, exactly. You just need to do that work so that you can navigate
see if
it.
You can manage it, navigate it, figure out how you can work together. And if it's really not possible and it's hurting your mental health and you, then maybe that yes. But yeah.
Great.
I just don't think quitting is always the option.
No,
like
not always the answer.
Yeah.
You can always find the time for what's important.
Well, okay.
I want to say it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, because it's like, I'm also like, I like quality of time. Like if we're like thinking like love languages, because it means that like you're prioritizing me as a friend, as a relationship, as anything. Like you're making the time for me, which I think is important for like any kind of relationship to go forward, right? It takes two to tango.
But I think, I don't even know if this is necessarily like, or I guess it is advice, but I think it kind of goes along with that saying that people always, I'm probably way too far from my mic, that saying that people always say when they're like, if they wanted to, they would. And I do think there is some truth to that, but at the same time, like, there are so many other factors involved.
Yeah, like they might not be doing okay. Yeah.
So I think like, yes, And like also having time is not the only thing that's at play.
That's
like
true.
having the mental capacity,
Yeah.
having the ability to be able to give yourself to other things
Yeah.
when there's so many other things going on in your life.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, if like you're in a state where like you need to really focus on yourself because that's another thing. Before you enter a friendship, relationship, anything, you need to make sure that you're capable of doing that.
Right.
Like you've given yourself enough love and affection that you can now give that out to others.
Right. Exactly. I think like this sentence, you can always find time for what's important, kind of just invalidates like
spending time, like not like doing things for yourself,
yes,
rather than others,
and just like mental capacity and like all of those things. Like it just invalidates those experiences, which I don't love. So I think, I don't know if we can rephrase this advice, but I think it's just about giving people a little bit more grace. Don't like accept bad behavior from other people in your life. And also just give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Just kind of remember that there's so much that is going on in everyone's lives that you may not recognize.
Yeah.
And like you might want to just like dig a little deeper before just kind of having this mindset, they wanted to, they would, or if they had the time, or if they wanted to, like they'll be able to make up the time.
Sorry, I completely didn't hear the rest of what you said because I was thinking, you know, the song from like Princess of the Frog, you got to dig a little deeper. No? Okay, just me?
Just you.
Moving on. Okay, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. I mean,
I want to say it's here.
Okay.
But
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Because I think, again, I feel like this is a common theme among all this advice that we've been talking about. Like
it could be taken good and it could be taken
simply
negatively.
Putting your mind towards something
might not accomplish it.
Yeah, and it's not the only step.
Yes.
Putting your mind to it is the first step, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I feel like, for example, you can't just be like, I'm going to be a pop star right now. Like just putting your mind to it is not going to make it happen. Like putting your mind to it starts the process, but then you have to do all this other work.
That is very true.
To make that happen.
And because it kind of almost gives that false hope in the sense of you can, like, it's like the you can do anything. It's like, that's true. You really can do anything, but it's not just snap your fingers and you did it.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done to do those things.
And there's also like your mentality and stuff like that. Because like for me, I don't know how to stop with my skates when I'm skating. But like it's, yes, I can learn, but it's also like my mental capacity is like, I feel like I'm going to fall over. And I don't think I can get over that hurdle of feeling like when I slide to the like angle to stop, I'm not going to fall over. So it's like I have a block in my mind.
Right. But I think having a mental block is different than this advice.
I don't know. I feel like I don't think I could put my mind to it. Okay. Even if I tried.
Fair in that. But I do think that just putting your mind to it is the first step.
First step, yes.
But then there's
like more. There's way more.
10 or 100 or 1,000 other steps that might be needed to do what you want to do. But I think this just empowers you to like, you can do anything. You just have to start the process.
Yes. And I don't think I can get it. I don't think I'll ever learn to stop.
Like I think it's just a matter of like putting the steps, like basically planning out the steps. So like if I put my mind to it, yes, I'll be able to do it, but I have to put my mind to the fact that, okay, this is step 1 and I have to, these are all the progressions that need to happen for me to get to my goal.
Yeah. Moving on.
Follow the crowd. They know what they're doing. I'll give you the answer. No, they don't.
I think we were even talking about this too, where it's like, have you ever been like somewhere and like there's just a line
and people just get into it
and
they don't know what
they have no idea what the line's for. It's just they're like, they should know what they're doing. Like,
yeah, they know what they're doing.
I should follow in line.
Yeah, it's like the bandwagon effect. Like you do what other people do just because you think that they know what to do, but
they probably don't know what they're doing.
They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. And like, why follow the crowd when you were born to stand out?
Period.
We're done.
I've never said period in my life. But I think it was. Okay, moving on. It's never too late to change. How do you feel?
Oh, that one's hard too, because I feel like it depends on, like, yes, you can always change your mindset. Like that's not possible. But then it's also like, I see you.
Okay. I'm just making sure you saw where I'm at.
You're at mildly helpful. But I also feel like there's some times where it's like you have to remember that you can only control yourself in the sense, but you can't control others. Like people,
Right.
like you can't change somebody else just because you want them to. They have to come up with themselves if they want to even change, if they think that's what they need to do.
Yeah. I think sorry. I think this advice is good when you're thinking about yourself.
Yes.
Because I think even if you're like at the end of your life, that you can still change.
Yeah.
Like I think our personality,
Yeah.
our mindset, the way we carry ourselves, all of these things, I
Yeah.
think they're on a continuum, and it's not like, okay, I've reached 25, my brain is fully developed, and this is who I am for the rest of my life. I think you can always change and shift.
And like you see people who are, 40, 50, even 60 probably going back to school because they want to try something different. I think that just also validates the fact that you don't have to have everything figured out in your 20s or even in your teens.
Yeah. And I think that we're just in this state of constant shifting. Like even if you are at a point where you think this is who I am, like you can change, and you might change. Even if it's like minuscule.
Yeah.
Like it's just,
but I think
changes like a very important part of our lives as humans.
Mm-hmm. And then when you just can't really apply this to somebody else and keep hoping that they're going to change, because it is an internal thing that you have to do for yourself. If they want to change, they will change.
Right.
But you can't just say, oh, like it's okay, like they'll change, because that is hard to put that on somebody else who's not ready to change.
Right. Exactly. Okay, moving on.
So yeah, apply it to yourself, not to others. Gorgeous. Go. Next one. So just think positive and everything will be all right. It will just work out.
Again, okay, I'll let you do your thing.
You talk. I'm scaling.
Okay. I think again this invalidates a lot of things in life. Yeah. Like I do think a positive mindset can be useful, but like
yes, and it has been proven to be like if you're like smiling all the time, or if you're like trying to be positive and have a positive attitude, it's more likely that you'll be able to get through the situation, not necessarily that you will get through whatever is going on. Like I think positive mindset doesn't mean that you'll beat whatever you're facing. It means that you'll just be taking better care of yourself during that situation.
Right. Fun fact that just reminded me of fun little
tidbit
factoid from Kaylee. Your brain does not know the difference between a real smile and a fake smile. So if you are feeling, obviously this is not going to cure any type of sadness and depression and anything, but if you are feeling a little bit lower on a day, if you just like fake a smile for a little bit, your brain may start to produce the hormones that are needed to feel happiness.
So just look a little
fake
weird.
It till you make it. I'm just kidding. Not entirely, but I do think. But I don't. Again, me talking about the work that needs to be done. I don't think thinking positive is the only thing that makes things work out.
Yes, that's what. Yeah, because positive mindset is good, but it doesn't mean it will fix everything.
Right. I think
that's the key.
It's one step in the whole process, but I think
so. Meh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The early bird gets the worm. Is this advice or is this just a saying?
I don't know. Yeah? Well, no, it's kind of like almost like you have to get up and get moving to get something if you want to achieve it.
So I'm going to say meh.
Yeah, because I like sleeping in.
Fair. I think everyone's body functions differently. Everyone has different states of productivity. Chronotypes are a real thing. I won't get into them, but basically like we all are different. We all have different levels of like when we're the most productive.
Yes.
So like in terms of like getting work done, you might wake up at, I know I'm not gonna say because you just like said you wanted to sleep in. I could get up at like 6 a.m. and get like 20 things done. You might get up at 6 a.m. and that's not working for you.
Yeah. Or like I could get up at 10 o'clock and I stay up later because that's when I find myself most productive. Right?
Yeah.
So
I think this is just like not even a statement that needs to be said.
Yeah, okay.
I think you get the worm when it works best for you.
Yeah, because there's worms all the time.
Yeah.
They are just in the morning.
There are no worms right now.
Yeah, it's too cold. Okay, yeah, it snowed again where we are. Rude. It was just warm. What was it? It was like 7 degrees yesterday.
Yeah, now it's -12.
This is Celsius, by the way. I don't know where. I don't even know Fahrenheit. So sorry if you don't know Celsius.
Anyways, it's cold.
It's cold.
Is what we're
like
saying.
Okay.
You'll know when you meet the right person, but I want to modify this to also saying, you know, when you're in the right place. I think this is kind of more of like referring to like gut feelings. Like, how do you feel about gut feelings?
Like, I feel like sometimes I do like my gut feeling. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, this feels right.
Okay.
But sometimes your gut lies to you.
And that's where I'm at. Like, I feel like my gut lies to me a lot as someone with anxiety. I find that my gut doesn't always steer me in the right direction just because I might be in a fight or flight reason for fight or flight state for no reason.
True.
So I don't think that like you always know when something's right.
Yeah.
Or I think what is right for you changes all the time.
Okay, that is true. I like that in the sense of, yes, sometimes something can feel right for a period of time in whatever stage of life you're in. Like a friendship, right? Like sometimes there's, I say this all the time because in high school, I had this one group of friends for grade 9 and 10. And then like grade 11 and 12, they weren't my friends anymore. Oh. But they were great. And I appreciate them for the experience I received from them for grade 9 and 10.
Right.
And then I found new friends that helped me in that next stage of life that I entered into. So I don't know. I feel like friendships and things like that are for periods of time are good. And you have a gut feeling because you're like, oh, this is a great friendship. But things can change.
Yeah. And I think it also applies to like situations. So like some sport might be right for you at one point, or some job or living situation might be right at one point, but then it could shift and it not be right anymore. And I think this could be good advice, but I think it's also important to remember that things shift.
Yeah.
And what is right shifts with you.
Yeah. So it's like, it's up to you kind of thing at the same time too. Like, yeah, like you can trust your gut, like for sure. But it's also like things might change. So don't be mad at your gut if things change, right? Because it just, and I think that's where it's like, you have to remember that every single experience that you go through is for a reason and that it makes you the person who you are.
Yeah. I think in terms of the gut too, I think you should question your gut all the time.
Yeah.
Like, yes, trust it a little bit, but maybe dig a little bit deeper.
You gotta dig a little deeper.
Where are these songs coming from?
It's the same song, and you need to watch Princess and the Frog. Like, people are gonna know.
Okay. Comment and let us know if you know what the heck she's talking about.
Okay. You should always forgive and forget.
Somewhere between there.
Yeah, absolutely disaster and nah. Just because forgiveness
it has to be for yourself.
Yeah.
You don't owe anyone forgiveness.
No. And sometimes somebody might never, ever, like, say someone hurt you. They might never ask for forgiveness. Yeah. And so that's something you have to learn how to forgive and yourself, like let go of that situation. But it doesn't mean that you have to forget it.
Yeah. Like, I think forgiveness is really good for us. I think that
it helps us move on.
Carrying
a burden like that,
like resentment and burden, like
that's hard.
It's really heavy.
Yeah.
But I think like it shouldn't be this like indefinite, you should always forgive and forget. And I think it has to happen at your own time and when it's right for you and only for you. Like, don't forgive someone for them. Like, do it for yourself.
Yeah. That's it. I agree. All right. Moving on. If you want something done right, do it yourself.
See, like for me, I just have a very particular way of things that I like things to be done. So like I don't delegate very well. And it's not necessarily me saying if I want something right, like do it myself. I just know myself that like I will probably redo what other people do. This is probably just a really bad trait of mine. I don't even know where I'm going with this.
Like, I don't know. I feel like it's a very isolating way to think. Like, I think right is also very like per person, right? Because something that's right for you might not be right for me.
Yes.
So like I get the sense of like maybe like you need to organize your room the way you need it to be, and like not like your
not be right
mom
for
or
you.
somebody coming in and reorganizing it and you're like, what did you just do?
Exactly.
Right? So I get it on that level, but then it's also, I think, making sure you make room for the fact that maybe somebody else can help you out in a situation, and the way they do things is actually more helpful for you and you didn't realize it.
I think, oh my gosh, I can't stop yawning.
Need another coffee.
Yeah, I think this is like a reminder that like what is right, like this is kind of just what you just said, but what is right for you is not right for someone else, and just a reminder that everyone has different mindsets for things, different ideas of things, and like
yeah, because I think it's just a hard one in the sense of like, yes, you want to do it yourself, but I think it's don't close off everybody around you just because you feel like you're the one who can only do it.
Yeah, I think it's important to learn how to express what you need and what you want and what is right for you, in order to kind of work together.
I really don't know where I'd place this on the scale. No, I don't. It's not. It's down there. Right. It's just gone. It's not on the scale.
Like it's not necessarily even a disaster. It's just like I don't think it's even like it's not anything to.
It's just great. We're not on the scale anymore.
Okay, I might skip a few because
I was gonna say that too.
Sorry. Oh my gosh, I might skip a few because I think that some of them we've kind of already touched on.
I know there's a couple of like similar life lessons.
Ooh, I'm gonna talk about don't take it personally.
Oh, yeah, absolute disaster.
Yeah, don't take it personally, Vanessa. Talk about it. Tell me about it.
Absolute disaster. Because if I want to take something personally, I will.
And I don't think it's up to anybody to decide what is personal.
And if I'm telling you something and I'm like, this is really what you said impacted me, or what somebody else said impacted me, and I'm really upset about it, and somebody said, it's not, like, don't take it personally. It just invalidates. It's kind of like
any of my feelings.
It's like, oh, they're mean to you because you have a crush on you. Yeah. In the same sense, in the sense. Ooh, we're fading.
I was thinking about our episode last time, where you had made a comment about the floor, and it like just how messy the floor was, and I like you can see that I took it personally, and now I'm just thinking like that's not something I should have taken personally. Like I didn't need to.
It was and
it was. I know it wasn't an attack on you to attack me, but like I think in that moment I was like, I manage this space by myself. Like, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's even like,
but I think you're allowed to feel like that too, right? Like,
yes, me saying don't take it personally, that just like invalidates how I felt in that moment.
Yes,
but like I got over it because even right now, this is like a week later, or a little bit more than that. But anyways,
she's still mad at me.
Still mad at you. No, I'm like thinking that wasn't her attack on me. She was just like making a comment that there was something on the floor.
Yeah. So
like I think not only is it something that people say to themselves, or say to other people, they say it to themselves too.
Yeah. That's true. You can be like an internal thing, like reminding yourself that like, okay, but I think if it's you telling yourself, that's okay. Yes. But if it's somebody else, like I've had a situation where like I was hurt by what somebody said, and I had another person who like knew that person to being like, don't take it personally, that's not what they meant. But it's like, how do you know? And also, how do you know what they meant to say? Yeah. Right. And it's like, maybe to them it wasn't, but to me it was. Like what you were saying with the floor, right? Like everybody's allowed to have their opinions on what they take personally and what they don't. It's just how you work through it afterwards. Like, for example, we are not friends because of this. Friends? Yes, we are not friends. We are friends.
Another way that you could have said that. But
it's fine. This is how my brain works. Okay, let me brain.
Go ahead.
The floor situation did not ruin this for us. No, but it is something that she took personally.
And now I realize that didn't need to be, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
To wrap this one up, don't dictate what other people take personally.
Yes. You are in control of your feelings and you are allowed to feel, and you are allowed to take things the way you want to take them. But
also take it with a grain of salt. Take what you feel with a grain of salt as well.
That's another saying. Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, but I don't think it's unhinged. Like I think that is literally just a saying.
I don't want to put salt in my wounds.
That's not what it's saying.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. It's saying like, okay, a grain of salt is really small in the grand scheme of things.
Oh, I thought it's like rub some salt in it and get over it.
No.
I feel like don't rock the boat is a good one.
Yeah. It's basically the idea that like don't speak up in fear of conflict, basically.
Yeah.
But I feel like a certain level of conflict is needed in order to either get
Things
what
done
you
or
need
changed.
or for things to change.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we really need to talk about that one because I feel like it's just like, I don't know.
It's true. Rock the boat. It's okay to rock the boat.
It's okay to rock the boat. Just do it. But don't hurt other people while you're doing it.
Yeah. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day.
That's a good one to talk about.
Okay, that one.
Because not only is this flawed because not everyone has the same 24 hours, not everyone kind of like has the same setup, but like males and females have different cycles. Like our cycle, and when I say our, I mean female cycle, is 28 days, whereas a man's cycle is 24 hours. So like our experience, if we're talking about hormones and stuff, their cycle is 24 hours, ours is 28 days.
Whoa.
So men feel the same every single day, we don't. I should fact check that.
Okay, don't take our word for anything, pretty much.
I'm pretty sure that's true. Wait.
Wow.
So yeah, I fact checked.
She fact checked.
That's true. So if we're talking about hormones, obviously that's not what we're talking about. We're not science people. We're not nurses. We're not
we are not
medical
science
professionals. But men or males, biological males, sorry, let's speak of it that way. Biological males will have these spikes and dips over a 24-hour period. Ours are over a 28 cycle.
Wow.
28-day cycle, sorry. So how we feel day to day is different, whereas males tend to keep a little bit more of a consistency, meaning like our productivity, our moods, our feelings, like literally everything will be different than a male counterpart. But I think this is also the same for like between me and you. Like your 24-hour is completely different than my 24 hour.
Yeah, it's kind of like similar to early bird gets the worm in the sense of like I could get up early and do all of the things right, but not accomplish a single thing in a day. But it doesn't mean that like you can't invalidate the fact that sometimes you just need to not be able to do anything for a full day because you need to rest or do something else that's maybe not seen as important, but it is.
Everyone's like schedule and cycle and literally everything is different. Like you can't compare yourself to others. I'm also just realizing how broken that scale is.
It's very broken. Yeah, it's holding on by a thread.
Me.
It's my thumb that's controlling.
So yeah, moral of that chaos is everyone is different. Everyone experiences things different. Everyone is productive differently, and don't compare yourself to others.
Which is also a really good one to kind of end off on too. Like, don't compare yourself to others.
Sorry. The only thing you can compare yourself to is yourself.
True. And like, you know, like how you've grown or how you've changed, right? So yeah, it's good to reflect back on how you once were or maybe how you would like to be, but not comparing with somebody else because their life is completely different. Their 24 hours is completely different than yours.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful.
Is there anything else you wanted to discuss in this episode?
I don't think so. The chaos scale is gorgeous, but it is falling apart.
All right. So to sum up, I was going to do like a summary, but I don't even remember all the things that we talked about. But basically,
if you hear this advice, now you kind of know how it could be taken, how it could not be taken. And maybe just to think like people are going to say these things, and I don't think this podcast is going to change the way people speak at all. But it's kind of almost helpful to people to help them see that if someone says this to you, let them do whatever they want to do, but it doesn't mean you have to listen to what they're saying if it's one of these kinds of things. I think
it also just kind of shows you that there's different ways of thinking about
That's true.
Like you can't just take it at face value. There's different ways of thinking at them.
Yeah.
So moral of the story is time doesn't heal. You need to do the work. Actually, for all of these, you need to do the work. Yeah. And it's just not one factor that's involved.
Yeah.
And
oh no.
Believe in yourself. Okay, all right, Vanessa. Wrap us up.
So that's the vibe for today.
I thought you were going to say so much more. All right.
When in doubt, okay, moral of the story, you need to watch Princess of the Frog so that you can learn the song, dig a little deeper.
All right. Well, that's the vibe today.
That's the vibe.
We'll see you next time.
Bye. Bye.